There's a steak sitting in a temperature-controlled room right now that has been aging for longer than most people keep their car. 365 days. A full year, untouched, just sitting there. And what comes out the other side isn't spoiled meat. It's something almost no restaurant on earth will actually put on a plate for you. Most steakhouses that brag about dry aging stop at 45 days. Maybe 60 if they're serious about it, because that's considered the practical ceiling. So what actually happens if you blow straight through that ceiling and keep going for 12 months straight? The answer sits right on the line between the most concentrated flavor experience in beef and something your body would reject on sight. Here's what normal dry aging actually does, before we get to the extreme version. A cut of beef gets hung or racked in a room held just above freezing, with humidity locked around 80% and constant airflow moving across the surface. Over the first few weeks, two things happen at once. Enzymes already inside the muscle start breaking down tough proteins, which is the actual source of the tenderness people credit to aging. At the same time, moisture evaporates off the surface, concentrating the flavor of everything left behind. By day 28, that effect is mild but noticeable. By day 45, most people can pick out a distinct nuttiness. Past 60 days, the flavor tips into something closer to blue cheese or cured meat. Funky, savory, almost fermented. Now stretch that same process out to 90 days, then 180, then a full year. The tenderizing effect from those enzymes actually plateaus fairly early. The meat doesn't keep getting exponentially softer the longer it sits. What keeps changing is moisture loss and flavor concentration, and by 12 months, both have gone about as far as they can go. A steak aged this long can lose more than half its original weight to evaporation alone, and that's before accounting for the outer crust that forms, a hardened, inedible layer that has to be trimmed away entirely, sometimes taking a huge percentage of the original cut with it. What's left after trimming a year-aged piece of beef is a small fraction of what you started with. This is also exactly where it becomes dangerous if the environment isn't controlled perfectly. That 80% humidity and precise airflow aren't just there for flavor. They're what keeps the surface dry enough, fast enough to stay inhospitable to harmful bacteria, while a protective mold culture does its work instead. Get the humidity or airflow even slightly wrong over a period that long, and the meat isn't aging anymore. It's just rotting. That's the real reason almost no restaurant attempts a year-long age. It isn't a lack of patience. It's that maintaining lab-level precision in a single room for 365 straight days with zero margin for error isn't something most kitchens are built for. The handful of facilities on Earth that actually do it treat it less like cooking and more like a controlled experiment. So what does a year-aged steak actually taste like, assuming someone pulled it off correctly? People who've had it don't really describe it as steak anymore. The texture is denser, closer to a cured ham or an aged cheese than a normal cut of beef. The flavor is intensely savory and funky in a way that either fascinates people or repels them completely, with almost none of the juiciness associated with a standard steak. It's usually served in portions the size of a few bites rather than a full plate, because the yield is so small and the intensity so concentrated that more would be overwhelming. And it's priced accordingly. A few ounces of year-aged beef can cost more than an entire multi-course tasting menu. Which is really the whole point. Past a certain number of days, nobody is paying for a better-tasting steak anymore. They're paying for proof that someone controlled every variable in a room for an entire year without a single mistake. The beef itself becomes almost secondary to that. What you're actually paying for at that point is patience.